Hello and welcome to Black Dice Gaming. I'm James and today we're going to be doing some painting. So I've just done 4 of these Wrathmongers, sorry. And I'm going to show you how to do it on the 5th one here. Okay, so they're all been base undercoated in Abaddon Black. And hopefully by the end of the video we're going to have a representation of something that looks a little bit like this. I went with a black undercoat because we're going to go old school. We're not using any contrast paints as such, maybe something for the skull work, but that will be it. And their armour is mainly black, so I thought, sure, give them a black undercoat. So the first colour we're going to be using, we got it on our wet palette already, is going to be Khorne Red base coat, and that is going to be the skin. So we're just going to work it into the model and just going to undercoat all of its give the coat of this Khorne Red on his skin. If we do catch any on the black, then because I've hand painted them in the in Abaddon Black anyway, it's not going to matter too much. We can just touch it up as we go, but obviously trying to be as careful as possible at this stage. So I'm going to get the rest of this coat down and then we'll be back with the second colour. So now we've got the red done. You can see it's quite dark, but we are going to work on that shortly. So what we're going to do is, while that dries, we're going to move on to the silver parts, and they're mainly going to be the chains and the hammers. So just start where you kind of want to start. For this, I'm using Iron Warriors. The chains are a little bit bouncy, so you may just have to pin it in place. And it's quite a dark sort of colour. But we're just going to do both of the hammers. We're going to do all of it. We are coming back and doing the gold trim, but it doesn't really matter at the time. Don't need to be too neat, just mainly get a good coverage on the actual hammer and on the chain. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the silver and I'll be back in a few. Okay, so once you're done with the silver, it should look a little like this. But what we're going to do now is we're going to give the skin a wash of dark earth flesh. Okay, so just going to go over, get it into all the little nooks and crannies. Don't let it pool up anywhere too much. And this is going to give us the muscle definition that we're wanting, and then we'll come in with a highlight a little bit. I think it's Mephiston Red I'm going to be using for the highlight. Yep, Mephiston Red. When we are ready for that part. Okay, right, so I'm just going to go around, do the rest of the model. But that's kind of what we're looking for. And I'll see you when we're on to the next colour. So with the flesh covered in the dark earth flesh, we're going to move on and we're going to do his tabard. And I'm going to take this chance to highlight the skull, to undercoat the skulls on his headdress. For that, we're going to be using Wrathbone. And it's a nice off-white colour. I'm just getting some on the palette as we speak. So yeah, it's a nice off-white colour, and it's going to give us a good base coat for the skulls, but also this loincloth at the bottom here as well. So just going to pick that out first of all. And it may take a couple of coats to go straight over the black with this Wrathbone, but it's definitely worth doing. It's not covering particularly well. So yeah, you can always run the risk of maybe putting it on a little bit thicker and trying to get it away with one coat, but it's definitely going to be best to give it two. And don't forget to do the back of the model as well, because some of it's visible on the back just here, and you don't want to cause yourself problems later on down the line. And yeah, definitely going to be doing two coats. Okay, so I'll get two coats on that and I'll be back with the next one. So with the two coats done on the Wrathbone skulls and the loincloth, we can now move on to the gold. Now this is where, this is what's going to take a lot of your time, but it's also where a lot of the work seems to come together, and you can actually see the end in sight. So there's a lot of gold trim on these models. We're going to start just here. And it's just a case of picking it all out, leaving the black under the surface. Okay, and it's just a case of going right around the model, doing all of the gold trim. Now, like I said, don't worry too much. We've undercoated in the Abaddon black, so if we do make some mistakes, we can just get the black and fill it in. It's not too much of a trouble, but as you can see, just doing that little bit there, it's really sort of bringing the model out. Now we've got lots to do, so we've got all the chest plate, you've got the shin guards down here, they've got some gold trim on them. There's another symbol at this side of the model as well. Probably need a bit more paint on my brush now. But we've also got the details on the hammers. The sort of trim here, and on his helmet. Majority of this particular one, there's not much black going to be left on there, and I also have done the sort of blade guards as well. I've done them in gold on the other ones as well. So I'm using Retributor armor, and it's just a case of, like I say, going around the whole model now. This will be probably the most time consuming, but it's also going to be the step that makes the lot of difference. So once this step is done, you're going to see the model coming together quite nicely. The gold covers quite well, so if you have made some mistakes like just there, I've got too much Wrathbone, then it will cover. It's not too much of a problem. So as you can see, this is going to be quite a long step. So I'll go around the rest of the model and we'll be back very soon. Okay, so with the gold trim done, which is definitely the longest part of this entire model, we're going to have something that looks a little like this. Okay, you see I've done the hammers, I've done his headdress, I've done the blade parts of the handle grips, and all of his armor trim done as well. So there's still quite a lot of black armor, but we're going to address that later on. Right now we're going to sort of bring out some of this highlights on his skin. I'm going to go up to Mephiston Red, and just going to get a bit of this on my palette, using a wet palette. The missus likes the house quite warm, so all the paints dry up very, very quickly unless I use a wet palette. Right, so I've moved everything out because the camera didn't seem to want to focus on this. It was more interested in focusing on the green mat underneath, so I've moved all that out of the way. And basically what we're going to do here is we are literally just going to pick out the muscle sections and just give them a bit of a blob, a bit of a cut, just to lighten up the skin just a touch. So anywhere where the muscles are kind of large, just going to go over the top of them. I mean, this is a very, very simple method of sort of highlighting the bits that we're going to want highlighting. It looks a little bit stark at the moment, but it will sort of dry in quite well. And it just sort of lightens everything up. Even the recesses quite deep, quite dark. Just putting this kind of slightly lighter colour down is just going to make it all pop. Looks like you've done a little bit more to it than just a colour and a wash. Like I said, this is just a very, very basic way of doing it. People who are a lot better at this than me have other ways, but I find that this gives you the sort of desired effect that you might want. So kind of concentrating on the muscles here, the hands, give them a little touch as well, across the fingertips. So wait until there's not a lot left on your brush and do the fingertips. I'm just going to blast these ones in as well. There we go, that's it. So it just gives them a little touch of a highlight. Like so. Okay, so I'm going to go around, do the rest of it, and I'll be back in a few. So that highlight on the skin kind of gets us to this sort of look here. But as you can see, the gold is a little bit stark. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that down with some Agrax Earthshade. And we're also going to do the cloth as well. We're going to do that in the Agrax Earthshade just to give it that sort of dirty look. We're going to cut the whole thing in it. Like so. Obviously, as usual, be careful not to let it pool anywhere, but just make sure that it gives it a nice overall coverage. Try and get in there, otherwise that's going to look a bit too stark. There we go. So it's just going to look quite dirty. It's going to get into the folds and whatnot, and we're going to highlight it if necessary later on. Okay, so done that, we're going to go on to the gold. Now again, you don't have to be particularly too careful here. Try not to get it all over the red obviously, but just going to get a coverage on it, just to sort of bring it down a little bit. None of that shine. Get on his headdress. Actually, I'm also going to do the skulls as well in the Earthshade. Get in here, and there we go. Going to make these skulls look a little bit more like skulls, like this. Okay, there we have. So as you can see, it's just bringing down the level of shine on the gold parts. Alright, so I'm going to carry on with the rest of the model, and we'll be back soon. Okay, so with that Agrax Earthshade on, it's kind of dulled down all the gold there. It's made the cloth really dirty, but we will be addressing that shortly. From now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on and do a little bit more silver work. This time we're going to use lead belcher, and we're going to use that for the sort of details. So this particular model's got a hook on it, and there's also some chainmail showing on the back. Now, you could have done this in with the Iron Warriors that we used earlier on. There would have been nothing wrong with that. But I'm just going to do it now with a slightly different colour. We'll start with a chainmail. Chainmail is just there, as you can see. Just is underneath here. So we're just going to block this in. We're doing it now because we're going to be getting the Nuln oil out soon. So obviously this is going to want a little bit of a wash with the Nuln oil. So there we go. Just there. And there's a tiny bit running along here as well. Doesn't seem to be at the other side. Okay. So it depends how far underneath the model you really want to go, I suppose. Yeah, that's about done there. And then we're just going to sort of try and pick out this little hook at the front here. Like so. Okay, so it's a little bit, this is Leadbelch is a little bit shinier than Iron Warriors. So there is a difference between the silver on the chains and the silver on the detail as well. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry and we'll get a Nuln oil wash on that. So coming back, I've done the Nuln wash as well. That's still sort of tacky, it's still drying. Covered the back part of it up there. And what we're going to do now, we're just going to brighten this loincloth up a little bit more. Just by sort of picking out the edges. Like so. So we still want it to be fairly dirty. You imagine it's stained by the blood of 100 enemies. And just give it a bit of a highlight like so. You don't want to go too overboard because you don't want to make it too crispy and clean again. That's how I've done it. You can pretty much do it however you want. You know, this isn't a tutorial, it's just how I do it. And yeah, that'll probably about get us there. So the next step is the armor on these that's gold trimmed. I want leaving black, but the armor that isn't, then I like to give it a bit of a silver glow. Now, what I mean is you could leave this armor, but it's things like this. You've got this knee plate here, which, unless we're going to do a dry brush on there or we're going to pick out all the detail, then that's going to be missing. You're not going to see that. Things like the back here, when you look at it from the back, it's very, very bland. There's not a lot to it. You could pick out, edge highlight all of the black armor, which by all means you can do that. What I did was I sort of give it a light dry brushing, just to make the edges sort of stand out, so it's not so stark and boring basically. And that's basically what I'm going to do. I love the scorpion tail, that's really nice. So I painted that Mephiston red with a magenta, what's it called? It's more of a purpley colour. That's it, burgundy. Sigvold burgundy. I used that on it. And it's quite nice. It probably didn't come out as purpley as the burgundy usually does, but you know, it's sort of different to the skin, but still in keeping with it. Anyway, I digress. What we're going to do is moving back onto Lead Belcher, because I kind of like this colour. It's the Iron Warriors is lovely and dark. This has got a much lighter colour to it. Sorry, much lighter in tone than the Iron Warriors, but it's still quite dark and oily. And yeah, sorry, I'm just getting it ready for dry brushing. So it's probably better to sort of build it up as you go along, but it's just a really light brushing just to pick out, give the definition to a lot of the detail that's sort of missing at this point. You don't want to go too heavy. I've just noticed there's a belt there. We may have to come back and address that. And again, there we go. Now the bit that I like to sort of concentrate on is going to be this feature here. Just by giving it a little brush like that, you know, all of a sudden, bang, we've got a knee pad that actually looks like something now. And there we go. And then sort of same at this side. Just nice and gentle. Don't forget the feet, because the feet's got because the boots that they're wearing are a metal plate. They've got a lot of edge to them, so this works quite well. Just picking out. Sorry, just hit the camera. I do that on every one of my painting videos. You see now, you see how that's sort of, you've got the definition of the foot now. It's got all the sort of ridges on the armour. I also do it on the face. Again, just to sort of pick out the detail in the face. So now you can see, you know, there's a clear mask now. This one's also got little arm pads, and I'm going to just brush it on those like that. Okay, you know, nothing too heavy. It's more about showcasing the picking out the detail of the actual piece rather than getting a silver colour to it. So there you go. Yeah, stands out a little bit, and we're not far from finished really at this stage. There we go. Okay, I just noticed I probably did a little bit more highlighting on the loincloth on these ones than I did that one, but never mind. Oh, got them tangled up. So yeah, I've missed the chain on here as well. I mean, you could at this stage go over all the gold with this dry brush as well. Just to, there you go, that's nice. Just to give that the sort of worn look that we do. There we go. I'm picking out where you can see it really. There you go, so you got that sort of silver, worn gold edging. Okay. And there we pretty much are really. There's not a lot more that I can do. Other than we'll paint the base grey to go with the rest of them. The weapons are nice and they're pretty much dry now. But yeah, okay, so there we are. Let's call that finished. And then we've got all 5 of them here. This one's as the kind of group leader, so to speak. And there we are. That's the unit of Warmongers. I'll do the base off camera. And they can go on the shelf, ready for my big battle. I'll tell you what, I haven't done highlight the skulls, have we? That's the next step. Go back to the Wrathbone and I'll do that. There you go, complete amateur. I ain't got any rhyme or reason to how I do things, I just do things. And it's just kind of, you know where you want it. I've got too much on my brush, I'm going to sort of use some of it up here first. And then you want it around the eyes, the cheekbones, nose, and if you're brave enough you can do the teeth. There we go. And then just spin that around. And there we go. Now we're finished. All right, well, as always, please like and subscribe. I've enjoyed doing these painting videos for you. More to come. And for those of you that have stayed around till the end, I've been working on this this one off camera as well. So he's going to be added to the army. I haven't glued his hand on yet, but he's going to be added to the army as well. I'm going to paint based on this one same time as I do that one. So if you do stay around to the end, there's a little reward for you. Went back to using contrast paints on this one. Knocked them up quite quickly, really. I used pallid bone on the bonework, and I think I'm happy with that as it is, without any highlights, without any touch-ups. And I used Crusader Flesh on the skin. Now, I was happy with it at first, and then I did a second coat, and I shouldn't have done. I should have left it at one coat, but I did a second coat, and then I went over the skin with some Kislev flesh just to sort of highlight bits and bobs of it. I will say that this bone part at the back is quite delicate, quite fragile. I'm really frightened that that's going to pop off a little bit too easy. This one's nearly done. I've got some highlights to do on the icons at the front here, because I've got some silver paint on them, so I just want to touch them up. But yeah, so if you stuck around to the end, you got a little. I love the standard. Absolutely love that. But yeah, anyway, that was a bonus. All right, well, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I shall catch you in the next one.